Noting the time and the presence of a quorum, I call the Boxborough Fire Station Building Committee to order. I'm going to open with public input. If there's any input the public would like to comment on that's not listed on the agenda, and I ask that people please limit their comments to no more than 2 minutes, and again, restrict comments to items not on the agenda. If you're online, please raise your virtual or real hand. We'll keep an eye out, and if you're in the room, please step up to the mic.
I don't see any hands online, but can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sunny is in, it says TT, is that the company?
Yes, Thornton
Okay, so we
Tomasetti.
need to make her a co-host as well?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, all right, so I will do that. No one is raising their
Okay,
hand
and no
online.
one in the room, so I will move us to our new business. We're going to take the comments on questions that have been posed by the public at the end, because it's kind of long, and we want to have enough time for the sustainability presentation. So I'm going to pass it to Chris and colleagues to move us right into that.
Thank you, Mary. Tonight, we'll be listening to Thornton Tomasetti present sustainability ideas, concepts, and a direction for the new building and site. They're going to present to us a bunch of different concepts, and there'll be some interaction with the audience through their presentation. So we're quite excited to hear about them. We have Sunny and Amanda from Thornton Tomasetti joining us, and the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Not yet.
Not
So
well.
the sound's really.
Not yet?
Better.
We can hear.
Better?
Well, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me now? Just checking the sound mostly.
It's a little soft. Can we raise the volume in the room at all? I really like to hear well, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
It's the,
Um,
usually they use
Oh.
the box.
I did open the meeting. I didn't take attendance, so I'm sorry. Mac passed me a note. Everybody's in the room, so I don't actually have to take it. But I will say for the record that Mike, Maria, Priya, Alan, Mac, and I are here. Sarah is not. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Littleton TV, can we raise the volume at all?
For the Zoom people calling in?
Yes.
Yes, we want to be able to hear them a little better.
Okay. Are they speaking now?
not yet.
Okay, can you hear me any better?
Yes,
Much
that is a
better.
lot better.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Great.
Thanks for spending the time. It's worthwhile.
Thank you.
Okay, well, hello. It's nice to be here, and thank you for being part of this working session with us. My name is Amanda Garvey. I'm Vice President at Thornton Tomasetti and Sustainability Lead on this project. I am joined with Sunny Du, my colleague, who is the technical lead on the project. Kristen Glossner is another name that you'll be seeing from our team. She's actually getting married tonight, so she's not able to be part of this meeting, but you'll be seeing her in the future.
Good priorities on her end.
Exactly, right? So tonight we are going to be presenting ideas, we'll be collecting feedback and aligning on priorities for the new firehouse so that the design team, Chris and his team, has clear direction moving forward. We do on this initial slide here have a QR code. If you can scan it with your phone, if that's possible, you can also go to the website mentee.com and type in the numbers on the screen here. So 32455672. And that's going to pull up a screen, and we'll use that to do some live polling throughout. It's a great way for us to collect feedback from all of you in an efficient way that we can then synthesize data and follow up after the meeting with some of the priorities that come from our discussion today.
So if you really want us to do it, you have to do that again, because I can't read any of that and I can't scan that.
So if you give me
Okay.
your phones, I have the QR code on my screen.
Okay.
So, and if you want to do your
Chris, you want
iPad
to use
QR
what? I
code.
have it on the screen.
Yeah.
I'm not a good QR code.
I think that's too far away and blurry.
There.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, aren't we gonna see it?
So you know the number,
I
3245.
mean, why are we doing it?
5672.
She can do surveys, like she can ask, who likes this? And you can vote.
You mean
So
live.
if you want to be able to do that, you scan and you can go into there.
Yep, that's it.
It's okay if you can't, no problem at all. We're also gonna have time for open discussion.
Okay.
It's just another avenue for us. And we'll have that code pop up again on future slides, but just thought we could get you ready to go. So quick context on who Thornton Tomasetti is. We're a global engineering firm with an ever-growing sustainability and resilience team. Sunny and I are based in the Portland, Maine office, but work on a lot of projects in Massachusetts. And we really understand the importance of a local presence and responsiveness for a project like this one. So our team, in terms of Sunny's role on this particular project, she'll serve on the modeling side and be supporting regular energy model studies, code compliance modeling for the projects. That's going to be in coordination with our building analytics team. And then I'll be working closely with our strategies and project management team, establishing the sustainability vision collaboratively with the design team, and then tailoring specific sustainability targets for this project. Again, listening to the priorities we hear from you all tonight, and then following up with certain metrics that we can then see through design and construction. So we want to start by just orienting everybody in the room and as part of this workshop today around the project and site, especially for those that aren't familiar. Chris, I think we were going to turn it over to you just to talk a little bit at a high level here around the site plan.
Certainly. We actually all had a site walk this week, so every committee member who is here was part of that. So we were able to walk the existing site with the old buildings that will be removed for the new firehouse. But just to orient everyone, Mass Ave is at the top of the screen. Sarah's Way is sort of perpendicular down to the bottom, and the site is bordering Mass Ave and Sarah's Way on the north and the south side. A building is positioned and angled so it faces the intersection of Sarah's Way and Mass Ave for much easier egress of the fire apparatus. One of the bigger items that we looked at from a sustainability point was to try to limit the amount of existing mature trees on the site. We don't want to remove remove as few as possible. We're trying to keep the buffer along Mass Avenue and also keep the buffer on the south side, as there is a neighborhood above the, beyond the site. We also had our landscape architects on the site this week. They have a preliminary plan that they have just presented to us, and they're looking at really using a lot of indigenous plantings around the building and adding some more shade trees in areas that make sense that do not limit sight lines for the apparatus. The site, fortunately, has a fairly level center section. However, there are some elevation challenges on the north and south side. Part of the orientation and part of the work with the civil engineers is trying to limit the amount of cuts and fills using the existing topography as best as possible, and maybe using some of that, the outcroppings, as features in the landscape. And then lastly, part of the orientation of the building is looking at the solar orientation with the notion of future PV panels placed on the roofs of the building, the apparatus primarily, and some of the sloped roofs on the admin portion of the building.
Thanks, Chris. We also want to overlay our understanding of what the town of Boxborough has identified as important. So we did have a chance to review the climate action plan that was developed in 2025. It's organized around the 5 principles that are noted on the slide here, and it really does give the team a useful framework about how to think about the firehouse and establish some of those sustainability targets that go beyond energy efficiency. So we want the targets for this building to be responsive to the community's broader climate objectives. And we also were able to read through some of the resident priorities that are in the plan, which reinforce many of those same themes. So highlighted here on the screen, but thinking about extreme weather, water issues emerging as a strong concern, followed by priorities around water resilience and improved infrastructure, and then also supporting net zero building standards. So collectively, we're seeing a strong community emphasis on resilience, water stewardship, high performance buildings, and connectivity. So it really sets us up well for the framework we wanted presented today in terms of a backdrop of how we might be able to think about a vision for this building. So we've organized it in the following format, really building upon those key drivers: the climate action plan, the Massachusetts stretch energy code, just the town capacity and funding, and then also the experience that the design team brings and our sustainability team brings based on similar project types and experience. And then outlining 5 key focus areas: health and well-being, circularity, embodied carbon, resilience and energy efficiency, regenerative site design, and operations and maintenance. So we're going to go through each one of these focus areas and have like somewhat of a checkpoint where we'll use the live poll. I'm gonna if you're following along on your phones, I'm gonna actually go to the next screen, so you'll be able to use the poll real time if you want to. Again, it's opt-in. So the first topic that we're going to talk about is health and well-being. In our minds, that is a very critical aspect of the sustainability vision for this project. Why does it matter? And we recognize this isn't news for this group, but firefighters are facing significant health concerns both on the job and in the firehouse, and that there is research that's showing that the contaminants can accumulate in those gear storage rooms and the apparatus bays, and also a lot of the building materials and finishes that are inside of the firehouse could potentially add another layer of chemical exposure. So we really want to reduce any avoidable exposures whenever we can through the building design. From the building material side, the chemicals of concern are showing up in a lot of product categories. We're working on many projects that are looking at it at a product type level when it comes to interior finishes to work on getting rid of some of these worst in class chemicals. A few of them are highlighted on the screen here. We're talking about flame retardants, formaldehyde, BPA, phthalates, PVC, and they are still commonly showing up in a lot of the building materials, especially in the furniture and finishes. So the material health, for us is really about figuring out how to establish a consistent screening process during the design and procurement phases that will help to focus on some of those high impact, high exposure materials that might be interfacing more directly with the building users, and vetting them to make sure they don't contain chemicals of concern. So to summarize this in terms of design approach, we're really thinking about it from these 3 basic steps here. One is separating those contaminated areas from the living spaces, thinking about zoning of the HVAC equipment, exhaust, enhanced filtration, and some of the negative pressurization relationships. The second one is going back to the materials, so specifying cleaner materials. How can we have PFAS-free materials, red list-free, low VOC, avoiding those chemicals of concern. And then the third is around verifying. So there's a lot of third-party product transparency labels that can be on products. So we'll be using those to make sure that they are meeting the stringent emissions testing to provide that high indoor air quality space. Beyond reducing those environmental impacts, we also want to be thinking about how to create a healthy and restorative place to live and work. So biophilic design, some of you may have heard this term before. We like to think of it more than just putting plants into space. It's really about that innate connection between humans and the natural world. So thinking about daylight, access to views, high quality views, natural materials, acoustical comfort, and how that impacts the materials we're using. And then also place-based connection to the local environment, and how can that show up through the way that the interior spaces are designed. Because it's gonna be a 24/7 facility, these choices that can go into the design side can really help support the comfort and recovery and mental health of the firefighters and other building users that'll be in that space. And embedding them into the architecture rather than treating them as add-ons. So we want to end this section just with a precedent study. This is Fire Station 76. It is located in Oregon. It's about a 10,000 square foot building, but it really it combines that firefighter wellness, biophilia, and durability into one building. There's views out to Mount Hood, which is adjacent, and there's abundant daylight in the space. Timber and natural materials, you'll see in the photos here, those were really prioritized during the design. And actually one feature that I wanted to highlight on this space was there was use of salvaged wood that was actually treated, and you can see it, it's very small, I know, in the middle there, but it's basically using this charring technique to actually increase the wood's durability. Again, I don't have much information. I'm happy to follow up on a case study around that, but it felt ironic and worth noting here for a fire station. But key takeaway, wellness and operational performance for this particular project were established at the beginning and integrated into the design rather than being separate features, and something that we're thinking about for this project as well. So to end the section, we have sort of boiled it down to what we think are the 5 areas around health and wellness. Some of you I can see are using the poll, so if you are able to go in and start to rank, where do you think these show up for you in terms of highest priority, we'll be able to look at those results. But again, thinking about zoning, the finishes, low emitting finishes, a biophilic design approach, good access to daylight and views, and then also establishing measurable comfort criteria that we can ultimately see through into the design. So these are the 5 priorities for this focus area. I'm going to shift over to Sunny. She's going to talk a little bit about circularity and embodied carbon. So Sunny, I'll turn it to you.
All right, thanks, Amanda. So there are a lot of focuses on operational carbon, energy efficiency, which is the carbon from using the building, such as heating, cooling, lighting, and electricity. However, a lot of the carbon of the building is actually beyond operational carbon, as shown in this chart. They are called embodied carbon, and it's the carbon associated with a building's materials, from making and transporting them to construction, maintenance, and eventually dispose of them. And a lot of this impact happens before the building even opens. So we want to look at the building's entire life cycle carbon, not just the energy that it uses after it's occupied during this design process. And for most buildings, the structure is one of the largest source for embodied carbon, particularly the foundations, floors, and primary framing. And this graphic shows that the structure can present well over half of the building's embodied carbon footprint. And this slide just shows an example building to show a range of carbon impacts between different structural systems. These are not the final numbers that we have for Boxborough, but in general, concrete tends to have the highest carbon impact. And steel can provide very long spans, but it's also carbon intensive. And mass timber and hybrid systems also often have lower carbon impacts. For a firehouse, the apparatus bay needs large open space and strong structure systems. So a timber and steel hybrid could be a good option here. But the key point is during the design process, we can compare different structural options specifically for this project, looking at carbon, structural needs, long spans, and cost to understand the trade-offs. And so when we select materials, we want to be responsible, and responsible materials goes beyond carbon. We also consider health, durability, resilience, sourcing, reuse, and long-term cost for the materials. The goal is to select materials that perform well over the full life of the building. And here is a example. It's Boise Fire Station 13. It's a great example. It was Idaho's first mass timber fire station. And mass timber here is used both as a structural and architectural element, including CLT roof and wall systems with hybrid structure where it makes more sense. And the part of the timber components were prefabricated, which helped speed up the construction and reduce disruption on site. The exposed wood also creates a warmer and more comfortable environment for the firefighters, like Amanda mentioned, for the well-being. And so the timber doesn't need to be used everywhere. It's more of a strategic use of mass timber can support carbon reduction, constructability, and occupant experience at the same time. So for this section, we also narrowed down our target to 5 targets. And if you can see on the screen, and if you want to follow the Menti poll, you'll be able to rank the priorities for this project. These are the metrics that we want to be able to rank and follow through the design process. Okay, so next section is resilience and energy efficiency. So there are several guiding frameworks that we use for energy efficiency targets. The first one, of course, is the Massachusetts Energy Code. Boxborough is a stretch code community, so we have to meet the stretch code. And I heard there might be interest to go beyond stretch code to the specialized opt-in code. There are different pathways to meet the opt-in specialized code, but the most straightforward one would be design the building to be all electric. And a second guiding framework that we usually refer to is the Massive Incentive Program. It's a great program that incentivizes the project by achieving target EUI targets. So if for public safety buildings, if we achieve less than 35 EUI, the Massive Incentive Program will give the project $1.25 per square foot. And if we fall through 36 to 40, that's $1 per square foot.
Sonny, I just want to interrupt because this town is not eligible for those programs because they have a local electric provider. It's not.
Oh, okay.
And I also want to clarify that the project team has already discussed going in front of the Sustainability Committee for the specialized code. So that's already intended as part of the project.
Okay. Okay, great. So even if the project is not eligible for this massive pass incentive program, this is still a great guideline for EUI targets. So if we target less than 35 EUI, that's basically saying this building is net zero ready. And if we target 36 to 40, it's still high efficiency, but not net zero ready, if that makes sense. So Massive also has this heat pump rebates, but if we're not eligible, we're just gonna skip them. And there is also IRA incentive available for buildings that are going for geothermal heat pumps. And if the 50% of the cooling heating load are come from geothermal and 30% of the cost can be refunded via tax credits. And the caveat is we are engaged for this incentive, but there is a lot of discussion going on. And if the town decides to go with this incentive, we recommend engaging a tax advisor. So with all of these guiding frameworks, we found that they are actually working together. They are all emphasized on net zero ready buildings, high efficiency buildings going all electric, and using heat pump as the primary energy source, and also a lot of emphasis on geothermal, prioritizing geothermal for both efficiency and And here is an example that we worked on. It's in Greenfield Fire Station. It was a massive Pass 1 project, so they were targeting 35 and less EUI. And through our modeling, we finally landed at 34.7 EUI. And some of the features that help them achieve this EUI is, one, they have very high performance envelope, and they used all-electric heat pump for HVAC, which is critical to achieve that EUI. They have a heat pump water heater. They have a air source heat pump for the hot water heating, and they have a heat recovery for the hot water. And for the apparatus bay, they have seal controlled ventilation, so the ventilation is not going on all the time, but it's only when it's needed, which reduce a lot of the ventilation load and the heating load. And water is a priority for the town, so our recommendations is for water conservation is to start with the conservation first. So thinking about efficient fixtures, appliances, HVAC, and landscaping that can reduce potable water demand. Then we can look at the alternative water sources where they are practical and cost feasible. The overall goal is to use potable water only when it's truly needed and match lower quality water sources to appropriate non-potable uses. We often see projects establish a water use reduction target, and usually it's 20% and more against the established baseline. So for this section, we also have several metrics and strategies that we would like to hear your feedback on, and if you can follow the Mentimeter and rank them on there, that'd be great.
Can we do that later tonight? My phone won't do it, and so can I do it at home tonight?
Yeah, we can leave it open for you.
Yeah.
So you should be able to add to it. In here, we included Sunny had talked through a lot of these items specific to the HVAC system and efficiency. We also added in this one, thinking about establishing that energy use target and water use target, and then also reducing lighting energy and plug loads, which are a big consumer in these project types. So we added those in that list, you'll see. No, we didn't talk to those in great detail. Okay, so we're gonna shift now into the site and landscape side. So thinking about regenerative site landscape. These last two sections here are gonna be a bit shorter, but that doesn't mean that they're any less important. We're just moving along. So regenerative, when we say that, it really means going beyond reducing harm and restoring and improving the ecology and the human systems connected to the landscape over time. So for a firehouse, that means thinking about the site and ways, how can it manage stormwater? How can it reduce heat? Looking at opportunities to restore habitat and thinking about more resilient landscapes when it comes to climate change. Also native plantings, permeable paving, green infrastructure, those can all be ways to reduce maintenance needs and also improve the site performance. So all of these strategies combined can really help create a restorative outdoor space, and that also can have impacts on those occupants, firefighters and others that might be wanting to engage with the landscape, thinking about how it can be a welcoming, community-facing area, and also supporting some of the well-being and social connection needs. I'm going to turn to Chris quickly. There's a couple of precedents in here of your projects related to site. If you want to talk to those, Chris?
Sure, thanks, Amanda. So the first project to the left is the Burlington Fire Substation, and then one on the right is the Westford Fire Headquarters, both local projects more or less in your neighborhood. And Context has always had a major interest in sustainability, really before it became a buzzword. So we built a lot of these initiatives into our design process. In Burlington, it was next to a well source, so we had to work very closely with the town and the design and our engineers to manage all stormwater management, to make sure that we were managing it well outside the well zone to keep the well as pure as possible. We worked closely with the landscape architect to make sure that the specifications for any treatments to the soil and to the landscape that is being put around the building was free of chemicals, therefore there'd be no possibility of contamination to the well source. We also abutted conservation land, and there were some protective species in there, so we had to design part of our curbing and our paved areas to be done in such a manner that they could still get across to their sites. And we had to look at the different materials in the building to make sure that there wasn't a possibility of leaching building products or finishes into the landscape. For Westford, a little bit different. It was built not too dissimilar on a site, not too dissimilar to your site, a lot of ledge below the ground, which could result in a lot of very high site costs. So we worked with the contractor before, doing a lot of subsurface investigation, and during, to try to limit the amount of removal of ledge. We actually used all the ledge that was removed, we ground it and used it as a base for the building foundation, so we did not have to haul it off site. We decided to try to keep as much of the indigenous plantings that were the plantings that were there. It used to be an old orchard, so we had to we tried to retain as much of the orchard we could in the corner of the site, and we left as much of the existing trees behind the site by pulling back the parking and using some of the ledge to form sort of makeshift retaining areas, and we used some of the ledge to form some of the edges of the stormwater management basins. So the back of the site of the station looks very natural, looks very similar to what it looked like before when it was a border of an old orchard. And we also used mostly a wild grass and flower mixture on most of the site, except for the view you're looking at now, which was grass. So the amount of maintenance on the property was really minimal.
Thanks, Chris.
Sure.
So we did narrow it down into what we believe are sort of the 5 recommended targets for the Boxborough Firehouse related to site. So native and adaptive species, using green infrastructure, a lot of what Chris was talking about, to capture, slow, and infiltrate some of that storm water, reducing unnecessary impervious area just to help mitigate any potential heat island effect, thinking about accessible outdoor areas, again, as I was talking about, that firefighter recovery, social connections, decompression, and then potentially evaluating roof runoff for capturing that water for irrigation or using that for other non-potable uses. We know there'll be balanced needs for that roof, given the desire to do on-site solar. So I switched the Menti poll to the site design. For those who are following along there, feel free to rank those in order of priority, but I'm going to keep rolling here to the last focus area that we flagged around sustainability is the operations and maintenance. Sustainability continues into how the firehouse is going to be operated every day, just not how it's being designed. So we wanted to be sure to include this, and we pulled together some operational best practices from our experiences in other projects. So first, we wanted to highlight green cleaning, which means using lower toxicity or low VOC products when it comes to cleaning protocols, especially in a firehouse where there might be more chemical exposure. The second is preferable purchasing, thinking about how a policy or it could, in terms of the maintenance side of things, could show up in supplies, replacement products, favoring those that are more durable, reusable, or lower impact. The third being waste and recycling policies. Again, this aligned with some of the information in the climate action plan. How can that show up in the building when we're thinking about providing accessible spaces for that, but also policies to address those more hazardous waste streams. And then the fourth being the potential to think about air and water monitoring on a more ongoing basis to just periodically verify what the indoor environmental quality might be like in those spaces, making sure it remains healthy, and then potentially tracking that moving forward. And then the last is just around mental health. And again, these might be things that you're already doing, but it felt like us from a best practices side, thinking about providing that support from the mental health and recovery standpoint. So overall, our goal is to just make sure that sustainability is part of the standard operations, and that it's not something that ends when the building and construction are complete. So again, these are very similar to what we already talked about, so I'm not going to run through those, but those 5 items that we put forward to you and our recommendations, we'd love to get an understanding of how those might rank in your opinion for this particular project. Okay, we covered all 5 of the topic areas. So again, they're here on the screen. Now we want to open it up for discussion, and we might want to make sure we have enough time for that. So I'm probably going to turn off the PowerPoint slide here, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Great, thank you. So I'd love to hear from the committee, but I also would love if there's sustainability folks, you know, pop your cameras on, share your thoughts. So I'm going to start with Mike.
Hi, my name is Mike Marshall. I'm a retired architect, lead AP. Been retired a long time, designed buildings in a different environment. But I do have some questions. As far as recycling material, construction material, is that going to be a requirement to where they'll have to have it on site and they'll recycle material and they try to keep the material that's taken off the site to a minimum?
I'm happy to take that if you want. I mean, that we are seeing construction waste management as an integral part of how most of our projects in Massachusetts are handling during construction waste. So tracking and managing those waste streams and making sure that there's facilities that can take them. So I think it's very standard practice right now in terms of construction managers. And I would recommend that we establish a target for that so it gets implemented and ultimately recorded and completed by the CM.
And I would second that. Our standard specifications, this is Jeff at Context, our standard specifications require contractors to provide a recycling program as part of their waste management. Great. And most haulers in Massachusetts already provide it at pretty much no added cost. So I don't think there's any premium to the project for this unless we are going to try to go to a very, very high percentage, like over 95% being diverted or recycled. So, you know, if we're targeting something that's lower than that, higher than 75%, I think we shouldn't have any issues for the project, or at least we haven't seen that in other projects.
Okay, thanks for that. The heat island effect, I know it's very costly or whatever. It could be maintenance too for the permeable type surfaces, but are you going to be requiring, I know I hadn't seen it yet and there hadn't been a landscape plan, but to at least have some trees in the parking areas where you can reduce that heat?
I can tell you the preliminary parking plan does address that in the entry drive and the drive that heads into the firefighter parking and the visitor lot. The back of the site, which is firefighter parking as well as training. We don't have any trees within the parking area just for the sake that it has to be opened up for training, but certainly around the parking areas will be trees.
Okay. And then is there going to be any consideration about gray water, reusing of water? Is there any thoughts on that? I mean, I know you're going to have retention areas and that type of thing, but reusing maybe some of the gray water that comes from showers and that type of thing to use it for other applications. Has that been?
It hasn't been discussed yet, but we're just on the very cusp of engaging our engineers to start their designs.
Part of the challenge of that I see is if you're going to do a substantial amount of it, you're burying a tank in a site that has a lot of ledge.
Yeah.
So the cost may be prohibitive, but I think it's worth considering and thinking about what can we do and, yeah.
Well, the geothermal too, we have a lot of ledge. I'm not sure that's going to work out. But anyway, those are my questions.
Yeah. Other thoughts? Barbara? Yeah. Can you,
You should be able to.
okay, you should be able to unmute, Barbara.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
I was hoping to be there tonight, but I'm in fact in Maine, so I'm so glad to see a team from Portland, which I consider Maine a leader in sustainability. So it's great to hear from you. Your presentation was excellent. It was super comprehensive. I was glad to hear about embodied carbon, your planning for the siting of the building for solar and all that kind of stuff. So that's really great. I have a question about triple pane windows. It's been my experience that I've been able to get cost comparable triple pane windows, actually beginning in Maine and then closer to Boxborough. So I was just wondering about that. Whether you've considered planning for a solar canopy over the parking, whether you've considered battery backup for the heat pumps. And I was reading about one of the firehouses fire stations that when they put in the doors for the apparatus space, one of their considerations was how the doors would open, whether they would open to the side or going up in terms of the recovery of the heat loss. So I just wanted to put that out there. As far as the prioritization feedback, it would be really hard for me to fill that out. I just looked at it quickly, but it just seemed like all of it was so important and really great. So I don't think I have anything else to ask about right now, but thanks for the presentation.
Great, thanks, Barbara. Do you want to address any of the points?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think great questions and all things that we will want to study in detail with the design team. We will be building an energy model fairly soon here, so we'll be able to test different envelope assemblies as well as HVAC systems. I mean, triple pane glazing from a code standpoint is definitely something that we'll be considering and evaluating in more detail. So I think it's good to bring that up. So all of these things I think we still have on our list here to explore as the design moves forward, but ones that were also on our radar, especially when we think about battery backup and the resilience being an important part of the residential priorities for the town of Boxborough. I think that's going to be something that's going to warrant further discussion.
That's great. I'm glad to hear you're modeling it. I will say, I'm like Barbara. I see all of it and I'm like, yeah, no, I want all of it. But also, we need to be able to afford it. And I don't want to publicly say to the chief or any of the people who will live in that building, well, this is a lower priority because it costs too much. But we are balancing cost with the best, energy efficient, green, healthy environment we can get. Yeah.
So I can report in today, we just finished sending documentation to our mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers who, in association with Thornton Tomasetti, are putting together the LCCA, the life cycle cost analysis, which is going to become the framework for selecting HVAC systems that will then present to you and the benefit, the pros and cons for each one, and part of that will also be addressing energy savings. And that will be reviewed with Thornton Tomasetti because it ties right into what they'll be working on with their modeling. The two data sort of go together. I can say that we are adding, already the plan has a large canopy in the parking area of the fire department that's going to be used for protecting some of the vehicles that do not need to be in the apparatus room, so they can be parked outside if that space is needed in the apparatus room for other vehicles. So that would be a perfect location to put solar panels on. It's oriented properly according to our site plan, so we actually have a number of roofs and this canopy that would be a great location for future PVs if that's something which we're able to entertain. We will be looking at the different types of door systems for the apparatus. There are 10 doors, so that's a good number of doors. The side folding doors, bifold doors, are much more expensive than the overhead doors, so price is a factor there, but we will do a price comparison and present it to the committee as part of our tasks. And we are looking at different number of double pane and triple pane windows. Again, this is all be put together in a format that we can easily understand and decide whether it's the cost savings or the energy savings is something we want to look at further. So I think our list and the list that we're hearing from the Sustainability Committee of their interests and what Thornton Tomasetti is talking about tonight, I feel we're all in the same direction, and we're,
The one thing you didn't mention is the battery backup. And we wanted to do that at the school, but we got a butter pushback because some abutters were looking at data that said it was dangerous. So we would need to look at that, but also, we're going to make some cost decisions, so we may not be able to do everything, but it might be something where while the ground is open, you build in the capacity and then you add the actual battery later. So Steve?
Mayor, and that's what I was just going to say. I'm working on another project where we are doing the infrastructure for future battery backup while the plan is to do it during the construction of the building. But, we're not... we were going to put the pad in, but the recommendation was don't even put concrete pad in because you don't necessarily know the size of the battery set.
Right.
So, but as far as having underground conduits to a location that's already specified and reserved for it, that's what we're doing on another
That
project.
feels really efficient. And then
Yeah.
maybe there's a grant out there in our future that pays for the above ground piece, so. Barbara?
Yeah.
And then I'll go to John.
Okay, thanks. So I was just going to say what you said, Mary, in that, especially if we pass the specialized stretch code, I think we'll have a lot more grant opportunities if we can become one of the green leader communities, so that we would be able to pay for some of this afterwards through grant opportunities, which would be great. For the triple pane window, I just wanted to say one thing. If you probably already know this, but for the fixed panes that don't open, for fixed glass, it's a lot less costly. So just putting that out there. And then for the dangerous battery backup, I have heard that also. I've also heard that there's some new technology and new ways they're considering of using batteries, so there may be more information out there. Thank you.
Great, thank you. John?
Mary, thanks. I just joined the meeting. I just heard the last part of it. I know you were talking about, there's some discussion about the types of doors. And I did talk a couple years ago when we were going through this process, I did talk to the people, the chair of the Fire Station Building Committee in Littleton, and he actually gave me a tour and showed me the issues with the overhead doors as opposed to the folding doors. And I know they're more expensive, and I believe Steve was involved in that project. And what they found was that the overhead doors, at times, the firemen or the firemen being in such a rush to get out of the building to get to the fire, couldn't see that the door had cleared the fire truck with the overhead doors as opposed to the folding doors. The folding doors, the firemen had complete visibility and knew they were safe to go out. And in other cases, they just went through the door and then had to replace the door. So I think you ought to consider that when you're looking at this whole project. Thanks.
Thanks. I believe we're going to post the slides from the presentation on the website because there was a very good presentation, and we'll have the recording because there was a lot of you know, their presentation had a lot that isn't actually on the slides themselves. So you might want to go look at it if it's of interest.
Are we looking to post a recording separate of the recording of the meeting?
It'll be the recording of the meeting.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and people can, go to that part. Other thoughts, comments?
I thought it was very comprehensive.
Yeah.
Liked it.
So the modeling, when does that come to us? When do we get to play with that?
Well, we'd like to present the LCCA to this committee. We're targeting possibly the 27th of this month, if it's ready. I'll know a little more next week. And I'm not too sure, Amanda or Sunny, when you would be working on your model.
We'll have to coordinate with you, Chris, following
Okay.
this meeting to
Sure.
figure out the best time. Once the design and layout is solidified a little bit more, we'll build the whole building energy model and can run some energy conservation scenarios.
And is it done in the way that then you'll present different scenarios, or is it like live where we can say, well, what if we do this, and you change it and we see the impact?
It's more of a presentation of different scenarios based upon all the data that's been collected, but it's all defined for you, so you sort of understand what it is. And certainly, it can be vetted and revised. You know, that's the direction the committee wants to go in. It's just giving you a snapshot of what each system would be providing for
Yeah.
the building, and a indication of the energy consumption and savings, and long-term benefits, maintenance, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, good. I mean, you're definitely hearing our community. You had many of the things that we care about. I appreciate that you went and looked up, the climate plan and all of that. And so I think it's going to be, we want as much as we can get within our budget. So,
Great. We'll do our best.
yeah.
I have one question. The 30% refund under the Inflation Reduction Act, that money's still available?
Currently it is, yes.
It is. And do we know, is there a window when that closes, or is it just at the whim of Washington, God?
That's our understanding. We've had this type of presentation on a couple other projects, and it's, act now, we don't know how long it's gonna last.
Okay. So act now, but we have to have this thing in progress and.
Yeah, I mean, you have to
and
go
all
through
that
the,
stuff, right?
you can't jump
Right.
without knowing whether
So-
it's
Is it-
worthwhile, and you have to return on investment. And,
Right. Is it something, the refund happens after you've built, so we wouldn't even be able to apply till 2028, or can you apply?
I'd have to go back and look exactly, but my understanding is you initiated early,
Okay,
and basically try and lock yourself in.
So, Mary, we had gotten early on from Senator Markey's office all sorts of information on this.
Yes.
But we weren't there.
yes.
So I don't know if the chief still has the contact in his office, but I'm sure I could probably find the contact.
Yeah.
So that we could get in and say, we're interested in.
That was going to be
in this
my
and-
next thing. This is a visit to senators to say, you need to keep this alive while we're doing this.
I'm
We
not sure how
want
much
this.
control they have.
Yeah.
But at a minimum, get into the office. There is, the name of the person is on the email that I forwarded to, I think, both of you from Senator Markey's office, so.
From 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, it was probably 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah,
But
that's
still, he
right.
does still work there. I double checked.
Good.
So, I certainly we can follow up and get that to their office soon, so they
Yeah.
can get on some, whatever kind of weird list.
Exactly. No, I think that's great.
And we could probably have, I could probably get the gentleman that's the expert in our office, maybe into the working group for a quick 15-minute
Excellent.
review.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Barbara has her hand up again.
Okay. Barbara?
Yeah, just have a question about that 30% incentive. Am I correct that you can also wrap into that, all of this time with planning and the fees around this and just a lot of other things besides just the drilling itself, but all the designing, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, my understanding is the design costs, that would have to be broken out, but that would be something that would also be included in the overall.
Oh, that's great. So that would be worth our while to the extent you can now, keep those costs identified, separate.
You would have to track it,
Yeah, track it now, because it's harder to track it later. Yeah, that's great. That's a good point. Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, so all the systems that's linked to the geothermal are all eligible for reimbursement. So not just the well, but the piping, the HVAC that's connected to geothermal, those are eligible.
I like that.
And are you concerned at all? So we actually just put a mini split heat pump in our home, and some of the input people gave us is in the really cold part of winter, it's not enough. But we went fully that's all we have. And on one of the slides, it was like, there's a benefit, and it might've been mass save anyway, but going fully heat pump, are we concerned about the level of comfort in the fire station if it's fully heat pump and no other system?
I think that's something we're gonna study during the design process, but in general, if we, what you described for split heat pump is normal because it's air sourced, and heat pump draw its heat from the air. When the air is really cold, it's hard to draw heat. That's why in really extreme temperature, it's difficult to heat up the house. But if we use ground source, the ground has more stable temperatures, and that might provide a more stable input for the heat pumps.
It's also something that depends on how the heat's delivered into the space too, and how you feel that heat. So, if there are terminal units in the rooms that are delivering the heat, you may have, even though the envelope will be high performing, you may feel colder as you're by a window or by a wall, an exterior wall, versus more central into the building or into a space. So it has a big impact on how we want to deliver comfort to the rooms themselves. And in the past, we used to use two different systems. Even though they could both be fed by very efficient means, we would use a air source with terminal units in the rooms to deliver basic cooling and heating. And then at the perimeter of the building, we might also specify a hydronic, kind of like a radiator type system or a radiant panel on the ceiling that would kind of provide extra heat around the perimeter of the building. So sensibly, people in the rooms feel warmer, they feel that radiant heat coming off, and they actually feel more comfortable in the building, so that you're not experiencing that cold feeling as you go by a window. That being said, there is an added cost, obviously, to drive that extra loop around the building. And so recent projects have tended to omit that. But it is, like Sunny said, that's part of the exploration and engineering trade-offs that we make as we do the modeling for the project.
Yeah, okay.
My recollection is that at the elementary school that was just built, we put 1 or 2 electric furnaces in for those 10 days a year that the heat pump didn't keep the temperature at a reasonable level.
Right, we definitely did that, because you can't cancel school, you can't cancel emergency services, so.
And they sleep there. So it's not just, like the bays are gonna be, you can only warm those to a certain, you know.
Right.
But you have people sleeping there and living there, so we can't leave them cold because, so.
Yeah, we also treat. Go ahead, Jeff.
When we go through the LCCA and we have a chance to speak with, you all have a chance to speak with the mechanical engineers, we're going to go through a similar discussion of these pros and cons and trade-offs, and they have more information to share about that.
Great. Chris, is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I was just going to say that just from a building perspective, we treat the apparatus bay as a separate space, and we actually do treat the wall between that and the residential admin as an exterior wall, so you further insulate the two sides of the building for heat conservation.
Great. Barbara?
So I do have personal experience with this, and it's all about the envelope and how tight your envelope is, and also we put geothermal in. It didn't work properly, and until we worked on the envelope. We put in the insulation, and we changed all our windows to triple pane, and the level of triple pane that we have it's as warm as the wall. You do not feel any colder sitting next to the window than you do to the wall. And the geothermal works in our house now on the very, very, very coldest days. But, you know, since you're doing new construction, you're going to be building presumably a really efficient envelope, which is,
Right.
from my point of view, the most important thing. And if you use really good windows, I think you're going to have a very good outcome with the heat pumps. You know, that's been my personal experience.
Yeah. I will say, in the school, the practice is they are not supposed to ever open the windows because it's a closed system and the envelope is very strong. And is it EIU or it's in the 20s? EUI. It's in the 20s, and it's performing better than we designed it for. But you can't have teachers opening the windows because and so that's going to be something to think about too for the way people live in the building.
Well, Mary, if you recall, when you toured Norfolk, those are non-operable windows. They
Yeah.
look like they're double hung,
Right,
but they're fixed.
right.
I'm sorry, where is that? What?
That was at Norfolk Fire Station.
The system's circulating air, so it's not like it's dead air in the building.
Yeah, it's got air exchange.
It's an air exchange,
It's a conditioned
right.
building.
Right, so, but it is something to think about.
Don't forget too, in the fire station, we're gonna have different pressures of air in the building to
Right.
prevent the migration of contaminants. So you
Right.
can't open the window because it changes the pressure.
Oh, that's true too, so.
Really?
You can't open the window because it'll change the pressure in the high pressure side of the building.
I do appreciate the conversation. There's a lot of trade-offs when we design these buildings, so you're experiencing all of these different things. But one of the things we do prioritize, in addition to all this great engineering and sustainability for the systems, is also the people that are in the building and the well-being of those people. And so it is important to us to make sure that firefighters have access to light, fresh air, you know, have the good environment, have views, things like that. They can have a nice space to have good well-being. That's something that gets discussed when we talk about mechanical systems in the building envelope and the design of the building. So it all kind of comes together and creates hopefully a very healthy and sustainable product. But typically in our fire stations, we haven't put in windows that you can't operate. You know,
Yeah, and I would
particularly-
imagine there are definitely some like on the living side, but maybe not in the training room or something, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
that's different. I just
we'll
think
have
that
to
if
think
you're
about that.
living there,
Yeah,
no, I would
Yeah.
feel awfully claustrophobic if I couldn't open. I mean, my windows are open pretty close to as far into the winter as possible without my husband saying enough. It's like, so I just couldn't.
but you don't have the
imagine.
heat cranked then,
I don't. I mean, I have
Yeah.
my heat on 58 at night,
Right.
but generally also have my window cracked.
yeah.
So, but I just can't imagine telling people they can't have some fresh air. Like, I feel claustrophobic for them already.
Right, I mean, these systems bring in
Excuse me, Mary, I think we
fresh
have
air.
to excuse
Yeah.
Thornton Tomasetti.
What's that?
We have to excuse Thornton Tomasetti.
Oh,
They
okay.
had 8 o'clock stop.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Sunny, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Amanda,
everyone.
thank you. Really appreciate your presentation. And we'll be in
Yeah,
touch.
great
as-
discussion.
Great.
Sounds good. Thanks all.
Bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
All right,
Sorry.
anything else here before we move on?
No, that was very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we have update on the site plan design.
I don't have an updated plan to share with you tonight because it's still in progress. We have been working closely with our civil engineer and now our landscape architects. They both were on site on Tuesday doing a site walk with us. Right after that meeting, we received a revised site plan addressing some of the concerns from the previous working group and fire station building committee comments about the trees and the neighbors and the grading. So they've incorporated some of that, and we just are starting to vet that with them. And the landscape plan was also was reflecting some of those, but they're not really ready for public viewing at this point.
Yeah.
But we will at the next meeting be able to share those.
Great.
But they're coming along well. Some of the grading of the roadway entrances into the site is a little challenging because Sarah's Way picks up its slope as it ascends the hill, and we need to make sure that we're able to get all the vehicles and the apparatus from Sarah's Way onto the site without any damage to the underbelly of the vehicles. And that has been accomplished, so that's a good thing.
Good. And the building design?
Yeah, the building design, I do have a short slide deck, which I
Who's
think.
doing that, the slide? Do you have that?
I think,
I mean, I haven't-
Kelly,
is
I
that the one
was
you
sent to
sent?
Kelly, so
Kelly
I think
sent
she
it.
may have put it on to the end.
Kelly sent
Okay, well, if it's in the packet, I can put it on. It's with the agenda.
Is it, Chris, is that the one you sent me
Yeah, so
separate?
Yeah.
Kelly sent an updated
So-
agenda,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
So
that has it.
Yeah, I have it up, Chris sent it to me separate, because there was an issue with my email. So, but if Mike wants to share, that's fine.
That's just the agenda I sent to you, I think. Okay, oh, there you go, okay. Yep, that's it. Yeah.
Let me share.
Thank you, Maria. Oops.
I'll get to the Zoom for you here.
Can you guys see that on your Zoom?
No,
No,
it's
not
not
yet.
on Zoom yet.
Okay.
So we gotta go to share. Share.
If you can pull it up. Not
Me? Okay.
the,
It's not showing up.
So you just have to go to the right tab, Mike.
So is it,
There you go.
okay, so hold on, is it on share, it's on Zoom now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Mary, I know you're gonna ask me to make this bigger,
Well,
and that's as.
I have it in
No,
front
I
of
can go
me,
a little
so.
bit bigger than this. But like,
Are you doing that, or
I
is
have
it
it in hard
overseas?
copy, and it's still, I can't read it, so.
Yeah, it's take your glasses off and bring it up as close to your nose as you can.
Yeah, so this is like, this is as big as I can get it on.
Okay,
All right.
that's
Okay.
fine.
Well, the plan has not changed a lot. Some small tweaks in the room rearrangements that we went over with the chief on Tuesdays, after the Tuesday site walk, making it a little bit more tailored to what the fire department operational flow is. I can report that the square footage is still the same, 20,941 square feet is the total gross square footage of the building. That's from foundation wall to foundation wall. The few changes that we made were really the sequence of some of the rooms in the fire department living quarters and refining the hose tower size. By doing so, we're able to have some square footage savings, and that allowed us to do a couple other areas in the rest of the building without adding square footage to the building. So after this slide is a series of studies, volume studies for the building. Option one, and this is going to show some options with a pitched roof over the apparatus and some options with a flat roof over the apparatus, and then a couple variations of the roofs that cover the admin and the residential quarters. So option one is showing a flat roof on the apparatus, and then a low pitched roof between the apparatus and the admin area. At one point we had a flat roof there. We're still looking at all roofs, but this one is showing a low pitched roof. And then we have a pitched roof over the training room that sort of nests into a pitched roof that continues over the admin area, and then that ends with the L that goes out over the residential portion of the building. The entrance to the building, next slide down shows a little closer view of that. This is the view from Sarah's Way. This is what you would see as you turned onto Sarah's Way from Mass Avenue. And then the next slide down is a little closer view of the entrance. So the entrance is a porch covered walkway, so it's fully covered, that leads you along the training room to the main entrance, the lobby of the building. And that's what you would see as you turned onto Sarah's Way before you took a right into the visitor parking lot. Visitor parking lot is just to the right of the training room on this image. So that's option one, flat apparatus bay roof and still pitched roofs over the admin portion and residential quarters.
I love the little people. They just lend context to the
Give
whole
the
thing.
scale.
Yeah.
So this is option two. As a little slight, the only change here from the option you just saw, because we're still showing the flat apparatus room roof, is instead of a sort of pitch to drain flat porch entry, we have a shed roof that comes off of the training room, so that that roof is now draining towards the apparatus, but the water is captured with a gutter and downspout into the storm management system. So this is it from an aerial view, which is really for our purposes not something you would ever see. Next slide is the view from Sarah's Way and Mass Avenue, and you can see a little bit clearer the shed roof over the porch. And then the next view is a close-up, more of a close-up of that entrance.
Is this a better function? Does this shed roof do something for the function of this whole thing?
It just would, not really, because both of those options will collect water and drain off the roof.
It adds so many lines.
It's
There's
too many
so
lines.
much going on.
And it's upside down. So
Yeah.
now if you look at that line, it's upside down to all the other peaks.
Looks like we
And so
added
for
it
the
on.
rest of my life, I'm gonna look at that and say that.
Looks
that
like we
roof is
already
upside down.
added something on.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we had the little pull pad thing, that would
I
probably
know.
be on the low side. Okay. Next, do you want to go on?
Yeah, we'll go on. Of course, I always want to go on. All right, now this option three is showing a pitched roof over the apparatus. And this one has, going back to option one, it has the flat porch roof at the entry. And here we are showing again a low pitched roof between the apparatus and the admin portion of the building, which again, nothing is shedding off the roof, it's all being collected by a drainage system, so you're not going to have water rushing off the roofs of these buildings.
Chris?
Yes.
On all of these, there's some kind of a structure that leads to the hose tower? What is that?
That is the first level of that structure are the support spaces. So there is a compressor room, there's a workshop, there is the Burke storage, all the various program elements that are needed to be off the apparatus room.
Because they don't need to be as high
No,
as the
I get that,
half
but
bay.
it's like when you look at the front view, it looks like the roof doesn't extend over that.
The apparatus roof?
Yeah.
I think it does, and maybe just the way
Or if you look like at the
Oh, it
next
does?
slide, the Sarah's Way view.
The reason that portion of the building is tall is that we're utilizing the fact that we can have a 8.5, 9-foot ceiling in those storage spaces, and then we're putting a slab on top of that, and it becomes a mezzanine level for the apparatus room for their additional storage sometimes, and also there'd be some training features built into that.
Plus it balances the roof over the apparatus bay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be lopsided.
Yeah. So I think it's a visual issue, Alan, with
Oh, okay, I got
this
it.
view. You may not see that roof overhanging that space, but if we
Okay.
turn the corner, you'd see it more
Thanks.
prominently. Sure. So that's,
But it's not fully open.
No.
no, just
the eave
overhang,
is-
just the eave, yeah. Yeah, it has its own, the roof on that structure is flat, and that's part of the training
Yeah, they can-
structure. So
they
the
can do
tower,
Training exercises.
yeah, the tower has a stair that gets you to the mezzanine level. And also, the stair continues up to the roof, so they can get out there and train. And it continues up to one more level with training openings, and then a ladder up to a hatch in the roof of the tower. So if you want to train from the top of the tower, you can do that as well. Okay, option 4 is a slightly different design. Oops, this is the view of option 3.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to.
Option 4,
Yeah.
We're taking the roof form over the admin, we're extending it all the way out to the front of the building, where the training room is. So you enter into this sort of columnar
Go to the next
space and go into the lobby.
So that's entering.
Yeah, and so what you see from Sarah's Way and Mass Ave is a very dominant gable where the training room and the entry is, and then we're showing a flat roof on the apparatus, slightly pitched between those two spaces, pitched roof between those two spaces, and then we have a little gable on the side where the training room sticks out a little bit.
Now, did you turn the training room on the inside, or is it just the roof?
Just the roof.
Yeah.
The next slide down shows a little closer view of the entry. You can see you enter through the columns, and there's a pathway right to the front, to the entry lobby. And to the right is the training room, and the training room sticks out a bit more on the side, and we've added a gabled roof over that.
That space up there isn't usable, right? It's just
Well,
dead,
just
void.
mechanical, electrical, you know.
And it's not open either, that's not like.
Well, we're looking at ways that we might be able to open it and capture some more space.
Instead of having
and
a
light.
ceiling, it's
Right.
open all day.
Well, we will have a higher ceiling in the training room, so that's part of having a pitched roof over the training room gives us the ability to raise the structure in the middle, so you can have
Yeah.
a higher middle portion with a soffit around. Talked a little bit about maybe doing something similar in the lobby area, some of the main gathering spaces where we have, when the spaces are larger, we could have a little more height.
But in this gable, like that the people walk under, like the porch
Mhm.
area,
Mhm.
is that gonna be closed? Is it gonna be, or is it
We-
pitched
we have-
underneath there, outside?
We have one scheme that has like a lattice-type system up there. Another scheme is closed. We're really questioning whether we're going to continue with that columns porch on the front or just do it on the side, even with this large gable in the front. We're sort of just studying that right now.
My concern is it's more cost for not a lot of functionality. It,
Right.
you know, it's, right, you get a little more coverage from your car to the door, but is it worth it, you know?
But you also, if you go back to the roof line on this, that simplifies the roof lines, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And
That's one
which
advantage.
ultimately,
Ah,
from
that's
a
true.
maintenance
Yeah.
standpoint, I mean, if you look at that, I would think that, and I don't know anything about this, I would think that this roof would be easier, less expensive to repair in the long term than it would if you've got a bunch of different pitches,
Oh,
no?
yeah, I see that now, yeah.
6 of one, half dozen
So,
of the other?
yeah, there are a number
Okay,
of
Mike's
things
telling
to
me
look
I'm wrong,
for.
which I accept.
It's just a gel.
Okay.
I was thinking the same.
Okay.
Chris,
Yes.
With more.
on your plan, you show the entrance canopy, the flat roof canopy, coming out past, and I would prefer that. I would think that would pull your eye into that canopy, but in the drawings, you have the canopy cut off.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, we're
I'm
looking.
just saying
yeah.
what is interesting to me.
Right.
The other thing is, I really was never thinking flat roof, but I like option 1 because it separates the apparatus bay from more of the homey feel of the pitched roof areas. And then you have that flat roof of the entrance, and it's like a separation.
Yeah.
To me, you come up, that's the entry. I'd pull it out a little bit and keep everything simple. You have those gabled roofs, 3 of them or whatever coming at you. Then you have the flat apparatus bay with the tower behind. To me, that sort of makes a separation. And then I went to the big, pitched roof over the apparatus bay, and I don't know. I used to always think that's the way to go, but I would go for the flat roof personally, and you can do a lot on that flat roof.
Right.
Well, I think the flat roof on the apparatus and also the long gable on option D gives you more of an area for future PV. Because both that gable is facing south and the flat roof on an apparatus, you can orient your panels the way you best need to orient them.
On that option too, I agree, that little pitch thing, it's a different pitch from the rest, and it just breaks up the rhythm.
Yeah.
I think you picked that up right.
Which one?
The entrance.
The roof
where
you like,
sloped
Maria.
roof.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
Sheds.
Yeah, you know what I don't like is
Yeah.
that goes upside down compared to all the other peaks.
It's upside down.
It's upside down.
I'm very basic, but like,
Yeah.
It is, it's an inverted triangle.
I will say
mean, yeah.
too,
Looks
if you
weird.
if you look at this here, this looks like it's kind of a nod to the past with the Boxborough Fire Department, because that looks similar to our current building with a flat roof. So it's
Yeah.
a nod to our past.
Yeah, I also think, I mean, to me, I don't necessarily want to hide that this is the fire station.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to look like, the apparatus side doesn't need to look like it's something other than it is, so.
Do we need to have more discussion about the apparatus roof? It seems like we've heard that it should be cheaper, and there are more advantages for that, and it probably would be helpful for context to not have to keep thinking about
so
two
just pick
different
one,
roofs.
a
Just
flat
go with
or-
the
Yeah.
flat.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Are we ready to?
A couple of weeks back, Chris discussed the gable roof. It's more complicated to construct because it has all trusses in it. It doesn't give you usable space. And there was some reason a flat roof would be more economical and drainage and all of that. Can you revisit that?
Well, I think what we were talking about was, how would you use that space? And you don't really use it because you put most stations that have a high gable over an apparatus, you generally put another ceiling in so you contain the heat to a smaller space than heating that entire area. And then most of your utilities, your piping, ductwork, exhaust systems are all within that heated environment. Sometimes you run your conduits, electrical work within that
The
interstitial space. Yeah. So
Go ahead.
you are adding a second ceiling in that space that you wouldn't have to add in if you had a flat roof on the apparatus. Because a flat roof would mean that all of your systems are up against the deck and underside of structure in your apparatus room.
Plus that, I can tell you that roof's gonna be massive if it has a pitch. And it's just gonna take away from the admin area, and I think you have a nice separation on that option one. Pull the entrance out a little bit so they can say that's the entrance. And the apparatus bay has a lower line, and then you do have the admin area, which has kind of the pitched roof feeling. That's a nice balance. That's my preference is option one.
Yeah, we felt this started looking a little bit more handsome with the difference in the flat roof versus the gable roof on the other side of the building.
Rhea?
Which roof will support solar if we need to?
They both can support solar, but the flat roof version gives you more area and also gives you more flexibility. If you had to do a rotation of the panels for a certain orientation, then you have that complete flexibility on a flat roof.
On the flat roof, do the panels go in an incline to face the sun at an angle? Or
They generally
flat?
are on an angle.
So will they stick above will we see the end of the panels because they're sticking higher than the
You
top
probably have
of
a
the
higher
apparatus
parapet.
bay?
We have right now we're showing almost a 2-foot high parapet around the.
Oh, that's what
yeah.
that's called, a parapet?
On the edge, yeah, the
Okay.
edge. And we'll look at that when we do the study for solar. We will look at the impact of that from the ground.
Right.
You can't hide it completely. When you're coming down Sarah's Way from the
Yeah.
properties, you're gonna see roof, but not much because there are trees. But you will see some roof. But from Mass Avenue and Sarah's Way, a good chance you would not see solar panels. But if we chose to add more solar on one of the pitched roofs, you would see that.
Well, that's okay. I'm just concerned you have a flat roof and it looks like you thought of photo panels later.
Yeah.
That's why you see them.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
but if we had a pitched roof.
You'd see 'em more on
You'd see 'em
pitched
more
roof.
on
Yeah.
a pitched roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't look out of place. They're
Right,
not-
they're angled with the pitch of the roof.
Exactly, that's what
Yeah.
I'm after.
Yeah, and we have to build the parapet high enough for safety reasons, because if you're building it for solar panels, you have to have a certain amount of accessible walkway
Mhm.
around.
Mhm.
And that, if you're within 10 feet of the edge, you're going to need to have a high enough parapet
For
to
safety.
provide a safe environment. So that would also aid in, concealing the panels.
I'm assuming that we can't take a vote since it's not in the, but
No,
can
but
we
we
take
can
a
give a
sense of the
direction.
meeting?
Yeah.
Give a sense of the group
Yeah.
to give Chris a.
Right, I would like that.
direction?
So just the roof.
Just the
Yeah,
app bay
yeah, whether
roof,
it's-
right,
yeah.
I think, yeah. Because they, you can see here, they're doing many different designs, and so the more we can streamline, the faster they get to their goal.
Is there anything, excluding the app bay, is there anything on the entry that you don't want?
Say that again, sorry.
I'm sorry. Excluding the app bay, is there anything in the 4 options for the entry that you can say, we eliminate this? Like your
Shed
upside down
roof.
Stop
triangle?
again.
Definitely
So
the
let me-
shed
Yeah.
roof.
So let
Well,
me,
and the long
The
porch.
small
one
flat
option.
one.
Yeah, I like the small
I
porch.
like number one, though.
so
Yeah,
I'm
not
gonna go back to
finished.
number 1, we can start there, right? And then, I know Jay's at the microphone when
Yeah.
you're ready.
Yeah, they're talking about the roofs,
Oh, hold on.
oh,
When
whether
Mary's
they want
ready-
a sloped
okay.
roof or a flat roof.
I don't know.
okay, so,
Barbara, hold on.
yeah, Jay, you had your hand up.
So we heard a lot about, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
About how good flat roofs are over gabled or sloped roofs. So why not have the option where it's entirely flat?
Even
The whole
over the
building?
admin and all of that?
Yes.
You two have the same taste.
So if I have to buy a home, I'd be very skeptical of this design because we have snow piling into each of the valleys and ice forming, whatever. So make it all flat, give it as an option. Thanks.
Thank you.
I personally think all flat is gonna make that look massive.
Massive box, modern.
Yeah.
Leah loves this idea.
I know.
She thinks this is a
She-
great idea.
You
How much
told him
did
to
she
say
pay you,
that, didn't
Jay? Are you getting a home cooked meal this weekend?
I was the only one with that design, so.
I think the feedback at the fair we had was to have the gabled roofs and
Yes.
that feeling, and I don't think, if we do a flat roof on the apparatus bay, I think that'd be okay, as long as we have some gabled roofs going on that kind of give you a nice kind of homey feeling that's attached to the apparatus bay.
Well, you want places to put potential mechanical equipment.
Well, I was gonna
And
ask
the-
that.
the
Does
sloped roof
mechanical
helps.
go up on the at bay? Or is there a mechanical up on roofs anywhere?
There will be
Water-
some mechanical on the roofs, and we have to determine where that would be.
But you're also gonna hang from the
Inside.
inside.
There will be,
the
there will be
yeah.
mechanical inside as well, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you did a gabled roof, right, then you'd put a ceiling and you'd have the mechanicals, like there'd be like a area between.
Yeah,
pitch
probably,
and-
yeah. You have to think about that carefully, because you also want to be able to maintain that equipment easily.
Right, so, I mean,
Access.
I mean, it's not, other fire stations, when you walk in, they're like, the ceiling, the equipment's up in the ceiling, right?
Oh, yeah,
It's
the
basically
apparatus,
painted white,
yeah,
and it's just
yeah,
common.
yeah, no matter what.
Definitely.
It's
Yeah.
industrial, I mean,
It's-
that's the
Right.
bottom line.
It's a
No
good
ceiling.
use of the high
Right.
space,
Yeah.
I think.
Plus,
Yeah.
if you were to make a space to put it in, then all that has to be sprinklered and monitored and.
Well, it has to be
Well,
sprinklered
right.
anyway.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, it'll have heat detectors and sprinklers in any concealed space.
But
But you
weren't
do
you-
have to provide access to
But
it.
if there were an attic space, wouldn't there be sprinklers there and then sprinklers below it?
Yes.
So it'd be two sets of sprinklers.
Yeah, if you had an attic space.
Weren't
yeah.
you concerned a little bit about fire hazard with?
I don't like the idea of lightweight wood truss.
Yeah.
That's my opinion of all.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm fine with a peaked roof. I'm not crazy. You know, and we talked about it the other day about traditional framing versus the prefab construction ones, and just trying to work that out. But
Yeah.
that was my concern.
Yeah, okay.
That transition roof between admin and the equipment, the large area there, that one transition there, you have a pitched roof on that. You could make that a mechanical well to feed the admin area.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities with this design where we can, depending upon the size of the equipment, where we can place them so they're less visible. I mean, it'd be nice to save as much of the apparatus roof as flat for future PV and not be constrained by equipment. We know.
Can we ask if there's anybody against the flat roof for the apparatus bay? Is that enough to give you a direction?
Yeah, so is it Barbara?
Yeah.
Barbara, do you want to add something?
Where'd she go?
Oh, does she, did she?
Oh, no, she put her, oh, no,
Yeah.
there she is. Okay.
Okay, I'm just thinking about the solar on the roofs, and wonder if you also are thinking about how the solar will function in the winter when there's a lot of snow and ice that collects on the panels. And it's my experience that when you have these slanted roofs, then the ice and snow slide down in sheets. So eventually, when they melt, so it will clear when there's a slant. It's also dangerous, by the way, so you have to figure out some way to put something at the edge of the roof to break up the ice. And then with the flat, I'm wondering, you probably have a lot more experience with this and have thought about it, how whether the snow and ice would actually clear off of the panels.
I mean, the panels themselves would be angled, so it would not be laying flat, and so it wouldn't collect as much, so it would slide off to some degree, but it is worth thinking about,
Or you have to go up and broom it
Yeah.
off.
Right.
It's easier access, I think, on the flat roof to get to these panels, to maintain them, than have them on a big gable roof where, well, you do have the fire department, though. They will have ladders. Are you going to have a ladder truck?
We do not have a ladder truck.
We also don't
And the
have
finance
snow
committee is not looking to
falling
buy
off
a ladder truck.
a sloped roof onto the ground. or
Well,
whatever.
that's it, because I have
a-
solar panels, and I didn't think about it when I did it. Luckily, it goes to the back of my house where the pool is, where we're not in the winter. Because you're right, Barbara, it comes down, it sounds like a little earthquake when it finally slides off. So we wouldn't have that problem if it's on the flat part of the roof.
Well, we've put a lot of solar panels on flat roofs, and you don't have to have a real high pitch on the panels. It can be a lower pitch.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
It can be worked out.
yeah, you work it out, right.
So Steve, you said two things. You said, is there anything aside from the flat roof, anything in the entrance?
So
that
let's
we'd like?
take the flat roof first. Are we comfortable telling context, let's focus on a flat roof on the apparatus bay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the next question is for the porch, in the right side of the design, is there anything out of all this you'd say is out so that context doesn't keep doing iterations of it? So I'm hearing the shed roof is out.
Yeah.
I would, before we dive too deep into that,
Yeah.
I would echo what Chris said earlier. These are still in progress things, and
Yeah.
I don't want people to react and take things off the table that might come back later in a better, more pleasing form. So I think what we'd
Okay.
love more so for this question is just general, thoughts and preferences, not necessarily like pushing us strongly in a direction.
Okay, good.
So I think Mike and I are strongly opposed to the slanted roof.
For the
Sorry,
shed-
Jeff.
shed roof,
But that
yeah.
is just the shed roof. But
Unless
I
you
think-
flip it the other way around.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
it all just needs to be in the right direction. I don't have any strong, I like option one, which
Yeah,
is
that's
what
right.
we're sharing right now.
I don't really like option 4, that big massive
That's what I
porch.
don't like. It
And the
comes out-
giant,
I don't think that buys
it's
you.
just too much building for
But
no
that's
function.
designed,
You
what
don't get
these guys
anything out of
designed
it.
the building.
So,
So yeah, it looks bulky, it looks like there's more design than we need. So if you think of a different way to be more efficient, we'd consider it, but.
yeah, unless there's
Doesn't do
something
anything.
that you do in that
Functional.
space that's functional, that makes sense. But it just seems like, I think Mary's, it does feel like it would be more expensive, a lot more material, I don't know.
One thing that was stated, I think Jeff said it in the working group yesterday, is the single like portico to the door makes it really clear where the door is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you add all that in the front and wrap it,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, because there's actually gonna be a door somewhere along
training.
there for the, it probably won't be the door we want people to use
But
though.
an exit.
It's an exit for emergency, and so.
So this is kind of that
it's
close-up.
clearer, so I think, that's preferred, but feel free to share other things.
So we're thinking option 1.
We are, but to Jeff's point, they, as they pull and tweak, and they may say, well, what about this?
Yeah,
And-
1A.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Anything else on this?
No, I included at the end of this presentation just the plot plan that Mark Barbadoro had shared with us after the site walk, just showing the Mike's site coming down on the west side and hooking back between
Larry's.
the Larry's.
Larry.
Where is
Okay,
this?
Larry.
At the
No,
very
it's
end.
the
Oh,
Yeah,
this
last
one,
right
page,
there.
this one,
yeah.
okay, yep, got it.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we're sharing.
So there was discussion at a few of our meetings about the amount of trees that may have to be removed to form the firefighter parking lot. And there was concern that it was going to open up a view passage from the neighbors up the hill to the site. And we determined during the site walk and looking at this plan that actually the trees may need to remove are actually to the south of where all these lots are.
Yeah.
So there
Right.
really is not going to be there will be no reduction of trees adjacent to Lot 4. So it's going to maintain the coverage that it presently has. So we feel pretty confident that we can say that there will not be a view passage from Lot 4 to the firehouse site.
And in fact, like that yellow part, we don't own.
No, you don't own it at all.
We don't
right.
own that, so, we won't be doing anything with that
Don't
piece.
touch it.
Yeah, I think that site walk was very helpful for me.
It was
so
really
thank you.
helpful.
Yeah.
Getting everyone out there, so this makes a lot more sense to me, and I can visualize, so that was great, thanks.
You're welcome. Well, thanks to Mike for organizing.
Yeah, that was good.
You know what else is helpful? The shadows that are in front of our design, that represents the actual size of the barn that's going to be torn down and the house.
Yeah.
So that shows you exactly where this ends up in relation to the...
Really far up on the property.
See? You don't
By the
realize it.
street. No, because it looked,
Yeah.
those cones made it look set back a little more, or at least, it was really hard to, this is the cone that's the corner of the hose tower
Right.
versus, but this.
Yeah.
But when you see
Okay.
those shadows,
Yeah,
then
that's
it
pretty-
explains it
yeah.
perfectly.
Yeah. All right. So just to be clear with the public, 984 Mass Ave has been purchased. The purchase went through. So the town now owns that property. So we have full access to it. As Mike said, we have seen it. It is, I believe, all marked up with no trespassing because there are structures on it that aren't safe, and so it's not for a free-for-all for the public to go on there. But certainly our engineers, consultants can go on and do the work they need to do to move forward and to
Great.
really understand the topography, the ledge and all that to help really decide exactly where that building's gonna go.
Perfect.
So that takes us to public outreach. We wanted to talk about, Context is thinking about another outreach session. And I forgot the dates.
We're
September
looking at the
30th.
30th of September or the 8th of October.
The 30th is a Wednesday.
Right.
And is this space available?
It is.
Okay,
And I've reserved it in case you decide you want to do that.
great,
On the
thank you.
30th.
So
September 30th.
the 8th of October is the Thursday before Columbus Day. Sometimes the school closes on the 9th for professional day, so everybody gets a nice 4-day weekend. I don't know the calendar, but if that happens, we could lose some people who may go away for that long weekend. I don't think that should, I just am putting that out
Yeah,
there.
no, that's
I don't know
fair.
that that necessarily affects what we do, but.
Would that be when we have a regular meeting anyway that Thursday?
We do.
No, we haven't, oh, wait, what
I
did
think
we?
that is the second
October
Thursday.
first.
yeah.
It
That's the
is when we
second
have,
Thursday.
I don't like a back-to-back
Yeah.
public forum meeting. I'm just a little old lady, and it gets too late.
Well, and I feel like at that point, there's gonna be a lot of
Stuff.
info in our meetings, right? 'Cause
Right.
we're kinda.
The
Right.
public presence, we'll try to keep them, succinct so that we don't lose people.
Yeah,
But there will be more and more information that is visible at these
Right.
presentations.
Well, the presentations, but I'm saying for
So-
our
for
meeting.
our meeting.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
to
yeah.
back
Yeah.
those up,
To
so
do that at 8:30.
September 30th sounds the preference.
Yeah.
Can folks do that?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, let's go, let's
great.
hold that, September 30th.
What are you calling this?
A design update?
Public outreach,
A design update?
28th, that's right.
Okay. It'll be posted before we leave this room. 7 PM in here, in this room.
You should have
Must be a good guy.
Yep, thank you.
Well,
All right,
that's
so
good,
this is a
because in the following week is
design-
our regular meeting and we can debrief.
Exactly,
call.
yeah, I think that works well.
Design update.
Yeah, so it's a design update. Is it the same, like we just did?
Yes.
Yeah, so
So
we'll do
we
it
can-
hybrid again.
Hybrid,
I
okay.
think that worked out okay, and we got a fair number in and a fair number online, so,
Yep.
yeah, good,
So we'll try to get that advertised,
yep.
which will be a little harder because we don't, other than Allen and the transfer station, we don't have any other places.
Well, the-
Wait, when's Village Day?
Oh,
I'll have to see.
October.
Oh, it's in October, okay, never
Yeah.
mind.
okay.
But we should think about whether we should have a booth that day.
October 3rd, 11:30.
Oh.
They have 11:30 to 4. October
Okay.
3rd, 11:30 to 4 is Village, the day.
So maybe the,
does something, right?
yeah, freebie market, we could do, maybe do something at that. We'll reach out to get that data. Okay.
Did you find the banner?
No, we're gonna talk about that in a minute. That is exciting.
All right, so yeah, we'll figure out the marketing for that, the banner, library we can post.
Did we get the banner?
Oh, not that banner, I mean in front of the fire station that Sarah
Yeah,
made.
Sarah does a banner.
Sarah does
So
the,
the banner that we had downstairs, which isn't all that big, right, is missing from Pfeiffer's Day. I almost wonder if Sarah has it, and she's like,
I think she probably absolutely does, because
Yeah.
we sent out a message to the whole committee
Yeah.
today. Fire chief has searched, I've searched town
You
hall.
lost the banner?
No, it's not lost, it just, somebody packed
take
it
it
up at
with
the
her.
end of Pfeiffer's
Yeah.
Day. And it's either in the
kidding.
Burke materials or Sarah has it. I think Sarah probably has it.
all right,
So
so,
when she gets back to,
so when I talked to Kelly, and this goes to the banner, I talked to Kelly today, and she said, yeah, we wanna put it on the house. But I was actually thinking, when I said banner on the house, that we would make a new banner that is as big as the house, a big banner, that we could then use on a construction site, fence. I assume a construction fence is going up. That says future site of the Boxborough Fire Station, like, to get a lot of interest. It's a very nice banner, and it's great for like Pfeiffer's Day, the one we
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
But I'd like to see what it would cost to do a big one.
Yeah.
And Kelly has offered to use the, whatever software she has to help us design it, and then kind of, if we get it designed and we get the art, then we can price it out in different places.
yeah,
So are we comfortable with that?
yeah, I think we should price it and
Yeah,
see if
get it
it's,
priced.
but I agree, it starts to really make it clear to people where it is.
Yes.
And
Yeah, for
hopefully
another project.
builds a buzz, because we're
Yeah.
gonna need support in May.
Right, so if we can get it, we can hang it, because the house, I assume, is not coming down till construction starts.
Right.
Right,
Yeah, it's
so-
part of the construction contract.
Right, so we can put it up there, and then once we get a construction fence, we can move it. We'll make sure it's heavy duty with the grommets.
Yep.
You know, we can do that. So
Waterproof.
Waterproof, yeah. My husband and I had one up on our building in Worcester,
Yeah.
and we had it up for 18 years. And
Oh.
it came down in a storm, and it was a violent storm down there, and so it
Yeah.
came down, but it was up for 18 years. So
Yeah.
it's really heavy duty, you can do it and
Yeah.
put it up. So we'll do
Yeah.
that, all right, so I will do that, I'm gonna work with Kelly on that, and I'll
Okay.
I'll send out the art, and then
Yeah.
I'll get
And
pricing.
you'll get the size of what a construction fence is, so it'll fit right on there later?
Well, that's
Probably
gonna,
has-
construction
has-
fence is gonna
Steve
go
has the
around.
size.
Steve will know what size to make it, so.
That's a great idea.
It's generally 6-foot high chain link,
Chris?
so.
Yes.
You're gonna have a construction sign, aren't you, as the architect and the contractor and who the owner is typically?
Yeah,
Well,
Okay.
Yeah.
something.
yeah, sometimes. I mean, there's a cost for those
Right.
signs too, but
Yeah.
we do, but we don't have to.
But
Yeah.
the fence is 6 foot high, but it's as wide as the property, so it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
So
can be
I'll
long-
make sure
it
it's
can be
not
long.
an 8 foot
Right,
height.
right, that's what I meant, yeah. That was clever what you
Realistically,
said to
it'll
do
probably
it that
be
way,
something
yeah,
like 4
absolutely.
feet by something.
Yeah.
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 And something will right now fit on the house, so that's a pretty big.
Yeah.
I do need to get that measurement.
We've been up there a lot because we're gonna use that house a lot for training.
Can you measure it one time?
We can measure it, just,
gonna be a
so we'll
bunch
just,
of
whatever
holes
we
in it.
design, we'll just, we'll make sure we don't damage it or.
That'd be great.
Because the way the house is designed and the way we train, like, we're gonna train the way we would go to someone's house, and a lot of times that is the front door.
Oh.
So,
Just
there's
burn
been
it
a lot
down.
of training, evolution's already planned, and, walkthroughs done, and they're really prepping and getting ready.
We can hang it on the barn.
Yeah,
The barn's
Yeah.
right behind it, doesn't matter, it's
we'll
facing
find a
the
way to
side.
take
Yeah.
care of it and make sure it's up and down, and
Okay.
people will know.
So if I could just at some point when you go up there, get the front measurement of that house.
absolutely.
And then I'll come back, I'm gonna work with Kelly next week, hopefully she has time, she offered, so, which I thought was
Length
really
and
great.
height?
Huh?
Want length and height? Or just
they know
length?
the
Well, it can't be more than 6 feet wide,
Yeah, okay.
wide,
Right.
because that's what the construction fence is, so
Yeah,
it's gonna be, yeah.
5 foot by something.
But you need to be very specific. You're gonna do whatever it is and put the arrow in which direction you're talking about with me.
with Maria.
I'm not a construction girl.
See, now I'm gonna raise it again, are there any Spinal Tap fans?
Yes.
It was a movie, Christopher Guest in the 80s, and they designed this whole Stonehenge thing to come down while they're playing. And he wrote it on a napkin and put inches instead of feet, so it comes down and it's like this big, and it was so funny.
This is not what you need.
I love that movie.
So we don't really have, we're gonna have to get, once September comes, I think the outreach committee's gonna have to start chatting again.
Yeah,
But, aside from Village Day, we have town meeting, so we can talk about having flyers in the back of the room, in November.
there's a November town meeting?
Yes, there's November
Mhm.
18th, 16th, 20th, I don't know.
Yeah.
What, you think between one of us we would know. So, 16th, so there's that, but we don't have much more other than that.
Well, I think that's a good time, though, because those are people who would come in May. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think
your-
if we have this October, then you're thinking maybe there's a December?
Sustainability.
Well, we're thinking one more before the end of the year.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
we'll be in construction documents then. so-
Okay,
Yeah.
and that would be, so November would be close enough that we'd have an idea for a date. So maybe,
Right.
Mary, like when you walk into the school, we could talk to Dennis about having that corner
you want
out
to know.
there.
Yes.
Where people are usually
Yes.
there who have a project.
If they
Right.
want to know
Take
more,
that
if
corner.
they
We
didn't
could
want
do
to know.
that, and then,
Right.
so there's
There'll be
October,
Diwali
November,
Fest.
December, and then,
November, Diwali Fest.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's huge.
January, February, we'll start doing the what's coming for town meeting thing,
Right.
so.
And that will be Winterfest,
Right.
if there
mhm.
is one. So we'll kind of get a schedule together.
Yeah,
We do need to meet, I think probably after September
Yeah,
1st, because we're all
that's,
like
yeah,
gone
absolutely.
and not around.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll start meeting more frequently.
Yeah, that's
So,
perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to move us now to the public comment that Mac's going to share from questions we've had from the community.
So we have quite a few questions, and Mary suggested that we cut it in half, so half of the questions will be tonight and half the next meeting. So how often does an officer of the fire department sleep in the firehouse on a regular basis? These are all pretty much in reference to the size that we need for a firehouse, of size of specific spaces. The answer is every 24-hour shift has an officer assigned who remains in the station overnight as the supervisor of operations. As our staffing grows over the life of the building, every duty officer assigned to the shift will require appropriate overnight accommodations. Providing dedicated officer sleeping space is consistent with modern fire station design and allows officers to remain immediately available to supervise emergency operations. And also, how many firefighters sleep in the firehouse on a regular basis? On an average night, we have approximately 3 personnel sleeping at the firehouse, including the officer assigned, which we just mentioned, to the shift. However, that number is not fixed and can increase based on operational needs. During emergencies and significant events throughout the year, we have had 6 personnel stay overnight at the station. These situations can include major storms, extended emergency operations, emergency management activations, significant incidents, or other circumstances where additional staffing is necessary to maintain adequate coverage and response capability. Therefore, the sleeping accommodations must account not only for normal nightly staffing of appropriate 3 personnel, but also for additional personnel who may need to remain at or come back to the station during emergencies. Since the new station is being designed for 30 to 50 years, the dorm capacity must provide reasonable flexibility for future staffing needs rather than being designed solely around today's minimum staffing level. Next question. Could a dorm room, even a multi-purpose dorm room, be designated as an officer dorm, to reduce the number of dorm-only spaces? Officer dorms differ from firefighter dorms because officers are frequently awakened to coordinate incidents, communicate with dispatch, review incident information, and conduct administrative work during overnight hours. Separating officers from firefighters' sleeping areas minimizes disruption to the crew while allowing officers to perform supervisory duties. While the room itself can serve other functions during the day, it must remain immediately available as sleeping quarters during the staffed shifts. Question. Could a dorm room and a study be considered a multi-purpose room to reduce the number of dorm-only rooms? Are there other spaces that could serve as multiple purposes to reduce the size of the firehouse? The design already incorporates numerous multi-purpose spaces wherever practical. Dorm rooms, however, present challenges because they contain beds, personal storage, and are expected to provide privacy for firefighters working 24-hour shifts. Using sleeping rooms as public meeting rooms, offices, or study areas reduces privacy and creates conflicts during emergency responses or overnight operations. Several areas throughout the building, including the training room, emergency operations center, conference room, and community meeting areas, have already been designated to serve multiple purposes. Question. Does every regular and per diem firefighter have their own turnout gear? If not, could the number of turnout lockers be reduced as well as the size of the turnout locker room? The answer is yes. Every operational firefighter is assigned their own complete set of NEPA compliant turnout gear. Sharing turnout gear is not considered a best practice due to fit, contamination concerns, accountability, and the need for immediate response. Turnout gear is individually fitted and tracked for inspection and maintenance. The locker room must also accommodate spare gear, specialty PPE, and future staffing increases over the expected 50-plus year life of the station. Question: why is it necessary to have a training room which will accommodate 48 firefighters? Could the training room be tightened up? The training room serves significantly more purposes than weekly department training. It accommodates department-wide training for career and per diem personnel, mutual training with neighboring departments, emergency management and BERC training, incident command and EOC operations during disasters, regional meetings and public education and programs, community emergency preparedness training. The room is designed to provide flexibility rather than simply seating capacity. Additional circulation space allows multiple room layouts, practical exercises, audiovisual equipment, and accessibility requirements. During major incidents, it becomes Emergency Operations Center, requiring workstations rather than classroom seating. Question: are there spaces in the current plan which could be adapted in the future to accommodate needed additional firefighters? Answer: yes. The building has been intentionally designed with flexibility. Administrative offices, storage areas, and portions of the living quarters can be adapted as staffing increases. Planning for reasonable future growth now is substantially less expensive than attempting to expand a fire station decades from now. Question: how many pieces of equipment are necessary in the fitness room? With fewer pieces of equipment, could that space be downsized? The fitness room is intended to support the physical readiness of personnel working 24-hour shifts. It is not designed as a commercial gym, but rather to provide enough equipment so multiple firefighters with exercise during different parts of the day without delaying emergency readiness. It's also designed in a way that accommodates the different ways that individuals exercise, as everyone does not physically does what's physically best for them. Maintaining firefighter fitness directly reduces injuries, workers' compensation costs, and improves operational performance. The proposed equipment list is modest and consistent with stations of comparable size. Question: how many firefighters will utilize the staff day room on a regular basis? With additional right-sized staffing in the future, will that space be adequate? The staff day room is utilized by every on-duty firefighter throughout each shift. It serves as the primary living and operational space where personnel eat meals, conduct informal training, review incidents, complete daily communications, and maintain team cohesion while remaining immediately available in response to emergencies. In addition to daily use by the on-duty crew, the day room plays an important role during shift change. At each shift change, there can be 7 to 10 personnel in the building as the off-going and oncoming shifts overlap. During this time, members conduct a formal pass-down of information regarding apparatus status, equipment issues, ongoing incidents, training, operational concerns, and other important items to ensure continuity of operations. Because the department has 2 shift changes every day, this overlap occurs twice daily and requires adequate space for personnel to gather and communicate effectiveness. The day room is also used for shift briefings and operational updates, informal training and mentoring, incident reviews and after-action discussions, rehabilitation following emergency responses, meal preparedness, and dining during 24-hour shifts. Unlike a traditional employee break room, the fire station day room functions as the operational hub of the living quarters. It has been sized to accommodate current staffing while providing sufficient capacity for the department's anticipated growth over the 30 to 50-year service life of the building. Properly sizing this space now avoids the need for costly renovations as staffing increases to meet the community's future emergency service needs. So again, that's only half of the questions, and this will be added to the FAQs on the web.
Hey,
Excellent.
Mary,
Thanks, Mac.
can I
Yes,
ask something
please.
about this?
Absolutely.
It seems like excessive, right? It seems like redundant and excessive, and it seems like, I bet you none of the people up on the screen there probably submitted those questions. So it's going to be added to the FAQs. I don't know that it's necessary to read them out loud at every meeting, and maybe you could have, if you've got that piece of paper, maybe you can have a click where, like, you can click on this site if you want the answers sent to your, if you have, maybe you could do that, like have some way to, like have people like sign up for agendas and stuff. Maybe they could sign up to get the FAQs sent to their mailbox instead of having, your guys' time is important. We're paying the architects, we're paying cable TV, we're paying Mike, we're paying the chief. It seems to me that it would make a lot more sense to, instead of sitting here reading something out loud and having people glaze over, no offense, Mac, you're a good reader, but still glaze over. It would make more sense to like put them on the FAQ page and then have some way to distribute them if people want them.
Yeah, it's a good thought, my problem with just putting them on the FAQ is no one will know to go look, but maybe there is an FAQ update that gets pushed out, and so it's a good thought.
This is obviously pretty long, but what Sarah has been doing at previous meetings, we've gotten good feedback about that.
Yeah, we have. Because people, I will be, people send questions through our email, and we don't always have the answer immediately. And so then this is one of our ways of getting it out when we do have the answer.
Do we have a lot of questions that come through email? Because I'm gonna tell you, I haven't seen any recently, so I want to make sure I'm on that show.
Yeah, no,
Right.
some of them come just to me,
Okay,
some of
okay.
them, or me and Mike.
Okay,
Some
that's
of them
fine.
come
I
to
just
the
wanna make
whole.
sure I wasn't
Yeah, there
like-
haven't been any to the whole shell
Okay.
lately, but, yeah, so, okay, we'll think about all that. I do like the idea of a push for the updates, so, okay. We have minutes from July 23rd in our packet. I will make the first note of adjustment. Steve Kirby was in person and not remote, so we need to just strike remote after his name in the present list.
And Alan.
A couple of things for clarification, I think. On the first page, the third paragraph from the bottom, the big paragraph, the last line reads, "The committee asked that the project will be able to comply." Which committee? Because the Sustainability Committee was represented, and so are we.
Yeah, it was
So-
the Sustainability Committee.
Okay, so that answer applies to the next line down where Ms. Nealon says, noted that the committee decided.
Yes, that was also the Sustainability Committee, yeah.
And then the only other thing I found was the next page, the third cue down, the third paragraph down. The last line reads, "If want to know more about the watertight quickness." If who wants to know more? You, us, everybody? It just says, "If want to know
If
more."
anyone
If anyone wants to know more.
know
There you
more,
go.
yeah. Mike, I thought of this on my way here tonight. Do we give this written piece to the note taker? Or do you insert it? You or
gets
Kelly?
inserted. Yeah,
Okay,
Kelly
because
inserts
I
this.
wouldn't want the note taker to have to go through all that when we already have it all written.
No,
so,
I give
yeah.
these written notes back to Kelly, and
Perfect.
she puts them in.
Perfect,
Yep.
okay, so, anything else?
That she's probably already got them, because I see
She
she's always
she probably does, she's something else. So, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from July 23rd as amended?
So moved.
Second.
So I heard Alan and then Maria. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That's unanimous. And so our next meeting date is August 27th. So that's the one Maria and Sarah are out. So we hope everyone else is able to make it.
We're gonna try to get the information ahead of that meeting, like a day.
So we talked about that.
We talked about having it Tuesday.
Tuesday. We're gonna get it to the committee on Tuesday.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because it will, so these will be preliminary cost, like the first round of cost estimates. And so people will probably wanna pore over them. So, I think we said Tuesday, end of the day. So you'll have Tuesday night, Wednesday, part of Thursday, but so kind of plan in your calendar time to look at that.
On my vacation.
Is that your vacation? Yeah,
Yeah, I'm on vacation. But that's okay. But my question is, in pouring over it, so you're gonna get that information, if I were here on Thursday, what, would we be discussing it? Would we be talking about value engineering and actually value engineering that evening? What is the thought? So I understand what kind of input I have to give you.
If we feel there needs to be value engineering, that'll come as a recommendation when we present the pricing.
So will they get that, will we get that on Tuesday?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so
And
so
you'll be
their
discussing that.
recommendations,
Your recommendation, we'll be discussing that on Thursday.
If we feel there is a need for value engineering, our direction for value engineering will come Tuesday
Okay.
with the pricing.
Okay, so then you would want comments on that?
yes.
Okay.
You can send that. I also was thinking about this, so when we get that, whatever form we get it in, a spreadsheet or whatever, is that also gonna have the vertex cost, the context cost, and anything that hasn't been estimated? Like, I don't want the community to see it's 20 million and think that's all in, because it doesn't have these other costs.
Just
No, we
just
would-
the building
Yeah, it
cost.
would be very specific that it's the construction cost only.
Okay,
I mean, we
Is
could
it-
certainly give it a total project budget update and insert that number.
could you, even if it's one more number to total to, and
Well-
it's an estimate, or you can line item, I don't care.
Yeah.
But that way people aren't saying, oh, it's only 20 million.
Oh, I see.
But
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, no.
really, 2 million here more, 3 million here, yeah.
Yeah, it's your fees and your soft costs. and
Right,
your
because there's all the
contingencies.
F&E
Yep.
and contingency, right.
Yep.
So it'd be nice if that was in so that people can see that.
So the estimate is going to have a building cost, it's going to have a construction estimate contingency, not like the building contingency.
Design
Right.
contingency.
Design contingency.
Yeah.
And it's going to have a cost escalation,
Yeah,
which is saying that if you build it in 6 months, a year, 2 years, I mean, this much more each
yeah.
period of time.
Is it
passes.
estimated on the premise that we would start like late May or
Yes.
early June
Yeah.
of 27?
It's
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the premise that we're gonna get an
Yes.
approval at
Right, right.
town
And
meeting.
so then the escalation comes in if we don't get that approval at that time. Okay.
Does it show the cost it would have been if we did it 10 years ago?
No.
Hey, Chris,
Don't even want to think about that.
Chris?
Yes.
Somebody said FF&E. How is that handled? Is that like a separate, or does that come with the owner? How does the FF&E happen?
I believe that's part of our contract.
It's-
It is, and that's a whole nother process.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's,
Oh,
a
yeah.
FF&E isn't just furniture. It's, it's fire department equipment.
Right.
Down to, we got a new building, we're gonna put some maintenance supplies in the custodial closet.
Right.
Because you don't wanna be dragging something
Yeah.
from somewhere else. You want a step ladder there, you want a mop rack or whatever, however we're gonna do it. It gets down to that level of detail.
So right
Kitchenwares
now,
for the
it's,
kitchen.
that's in the soft
It's
cost.
That's all considered soft costs.
Yeah.
So we'll have that breakdown, because I agree with you, but I don't know how we know whether we have to value engineer if we don't know.
Well, we're gonna
We're
have
having
that.
placeholders for those.
Right, it's a
Yeah,
placeholder
that's
that's
fine, but
already
that'll
been
be Part
estimated.
of what we see on
Yes.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right? So
that's,
we'll know where this
And we've
is
already
going.
done it, but we're
Right.
just gonna update it.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
okay. So
That way we'll be seeing
The
total.
total number,
Yeah.
and that tells us if we
How
have to
much.
value engineer and how much.
Right,
So.
Yeah, if we have to value engineer the construction.
Right.
Or do we have to value engineer maybe the furniture?
right,
I mean, that's-
exactly.
Or maybe both.
Yeah, Right.
We'll have to see where
Yeah.
we land.
They
And that's
need
gonna,
beds
that's
and
gonna
desks
progress
and-
as we continue on with design.
Right.
Okay. I probably have 1,000 more questions about how we're gonna do this, but I'm not gonna be there, so I'll just do what I can, and then, I'm sure this isn't gonna be the only time we're gonna be looking at this.
Right.
Oh, no.
No,
This
we'll,
is just a start.
And this
Exactly.
is the SD cost estimate.
It's still high level.
Not saying that it's not going to be really trying to be as reflective as possible, the final one, but it won't have as much detail in it as the DD or this CD.
But it's gonna be square foot costs.
Okay, but so, I assume that we're gonna be looking at, so what's the baseline on this for building material? I mean, that's what I'm trying to understand. Are we getting an estimate on a masonry building, on a steel building, on a wood building, and is that, so are we gonna know that, or is it like
Yes.
multiple different estimates?
No, you'll know. You'll know.
Okay.
We're going to have a base building design,
Yeah,
and with materials called out, for structure and walls, roofs, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And then we'll have some alternates.
okay.
Yeah.
So we'll know this base building is X, we're making
Yeah.
it out of matchsticks, and then the alternate is masonry or whatever, okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, Chris and
Preface.
his team will give the estimators, some of it's just gonna be in narrative form.
Yep, yep.
We
We'll-
gave that to them already,
Yeah.
so
And-
they're working from that, then we refine that, we share it with Vertex, we
Yep.
go over it together, and then it comes to your group that Tuesday.
right, right. So if you want to email me, but if it's easier, we can do a phone call, I can set up a Zoom to give me input. If you're on vacation, I want to make it as easy as
So I will
possible.
probably email you.
Okay.
But if that changes, I'll just text you and say, let's talk. If
Yeah.
it gets to be too much,
Yeah.
I'll try to,
Yeah,
email.
and
And
even
I'm
if
only gonna
it's-
be able to do so much, honestly.
Exactly, even if you look at a piece of it, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
So-
And then just so you know, when we go to design development and construction documents, that's when we do an estimate at the same time. So you have two parallel third-party cost estimators doing estimates on the same set of drawings and plans. And then before we present to you, we get together, Chris, myself,
Right.
the estimators, we do a reconciliation to make sure that one guy didn't miss something or they dicker about, their unit costs. And then we come to you with what we call a reconciled cost
We did that
estimate.
for the school.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how we did that, so. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah,
for that
good.
explanation.
All right, with that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mac moved, Alan seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.